Let's say someone is just getting started and they're able to come up with an extra $100 or $200 a month to stack with. What would you recommend they buy? Can we go look at some of the stuff here?
Sure, absolutely.
Buy your gold and silver online from SD Bullion. New customers get gold or silver at spot by visiting sdbullion.com/new.
All right, well, I'm sitting here hanging out with Harry. How's it going, Harry?
Good, Silver Dragons.
And we're kind of talking about video ideas. And one of the things we came up with here was, talking about how to get that stack started, sort of what people can do, because some of the people out there commenting, they're having a hard time getting going with buying silver and gold, right?
Yes, there's a lot of people who watch the channel, and by the way, we're very grateful for that, and would love to be stackers. And I see the comments over and over again, I wish I had the money to start, but I've got a young family, or I've got medical bills, or just life's too expensive, but I really do enjoy the videos. And we appreciate that. But Silver Dragons and I were talking this morning about, well, what could a person do to get a stack going that might not have the extra $100 a month or $500 or $1,000? And I think we have some ideas where maybe we could share, not just out of thin air, but things that we or others have done to actually free up cash to do this very thing. In fact, I was inspired by you, Silver Dragons, on how you first started your stack.
Yeah, so probably definitely my first 20 ounces of silver were all bought from returning cans, like recycling cans. When I was at my job, if I had any spare time, I would go look through the garbage cans, look through the dumpsters, and pull out all the bottles. And then I would take them down. And here in Oregon, we get 10 cents for every bottle, so that's kind of helpful. But in the states where you can't do that, you can still take the aluminum cans and take them down to the tin scrappers. You don't get as much money, but you can still do it. And I would take all that cash and I would just buy silver with it. So I actually made this series on my channel. It was called Trash to Cash to Silver.
Yes.
And I was literally stacking with that money exclusively. And eventually I started finding other ways to make cash, selling stuff on eBay, doing odd jobs, stuff like that. But it really got me going, and I had no extra money. Like, our budget as a family, it was all spoken for. So I had to get creative. And I think some people out there are probably in a similar situation where they don't have any cash left over when they do their budget. So I definitely think recycling cans can be a good option for people.
Now tell me how you dealt with, if you did at all, with the pride issue. I know some people are hearing what you're saying and they know it would work, but boy, I'm not going in that garbage can, or I don't want the neighbors to see me with my big bag of cans every Friday morning. How did you deal with that?
Honestly, it wasn't really an issue for me because I was so excited about the silver that I literally didn't care. And some people at my work would actually kind of make fun of me for it. And I just laugh and be like, yeah, well, I'm getting silver out of it, so it's worth it.
Yeah.
And it was fun. I kind of made it a little game out of it, like see how many cans I could get every day and try and set my record.
And you can look back over the last several years at the start of your stack, and you could probably see certain coins and rounds and bars that were a result of collecting those cans, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I actually still have one of my first 20 ounces that I got from cans, and I'm going to hold on to it forever.
Yeah. Now, I've got a guy who drives for Uber. I know Uber has in their app, the tip can be part of the app, or there's no tip necessary, but once in a while these Uber drivers get a cash tip. Someone's extra grateful for the excellent service. Well, this particular guy, I'll call him Tim, he comes in every time someone gives him a tip. Sometimes it's just $20, sometimes it's $30, sometimes it's $10, and he'll buy whatever he can with that tip money. So even though he earns his living as a driver, he's earmarked that little bit of cash, which adds up over time because he comes in rather often. And I'll see him come through the door and I'll say, hey, Tim, you must have got a tip. He says, yes, we did. Because he says because we both benefit. So he comes in and he'll buy maybe a couple of silver quarters or a handful of dimes, or maybe sometimes a dime, because someone gave him $5 or $2, but he's very disciplined about what he does with his tip. So that's another example of someone taking the initiative to earmark certain monies for their stack. And he's a man of modest means. Actually, he came in the other day, said he had a problem at his home that needed repair, didn't get specific. He had a box of US 90% for me to buy so that he could pay for this repair. And he commented to me how glad he was that he had it for this emergency, and that, by the way, this was not nearly all his silver. So that was another example too of, sometimes it's not the zombie apocalypse where we need the silver. Sometimes it's just a leaky pipe.
Yeah.
But he had it because of the discipline he had, taking those tips and buying, generally speaking, 90% with it.
I think that's definitely a good idea to be stacking, to have it as an emergency, kind of your savings, your backup. And one thing that I've actually heard people do, I've been doing this channel for over 6 years now, is they've taken some of their vices and stopped doing them and used that money to stack silver with. So for example, cut out smoking or drinking or something like that. And actually, it's kind of funny, when you start buying silver, it can be addicting because it's so fun to hold it and get more coins and get a collection going. And so kind of trading one thing for another, you'd be surprised how much money you could actually save if you just cut out some of these little things.
Well, let me make it even easier, taking your idea and expanding on it. Instead of quitting smoking or quitting drinking coffee or quitting drinking alcohol, why not make your own coffee, put it in a thermos every day in your car? Don't go to Starbucks. You'll save, I don't know, I said $4 a day, you said $7 a day.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on what drink and the size of it. But in other words, still have your coffee or still have your beer at night, but don't have it at the bar. Have it at home. You'll save 50% or more. Earmark that money for your stack. Have some fun with it. Don't torture yourself. Just have some fun with it. There's another idea I had too, and it takes place right in this coin shop and probably every coin shop out there. We all have drawers in the back with buffalo nickels or V nickels or Indian head cents that we don't have time to process all of them. We don't have time to, put this all up online on eBay or some other app. We just put it out at a price where we can break even or make a little bit of money, but it could become inventory for you if you have a little bit of an entrepreneurial spirit to take something like a clad quarter set for $2.50, and sell it for $5 and charge shipping, say on eBay, and do this 100 times in a month. Cut out 2 hours of TV time a night and do this. And then you might free up hundreds of dollars in a month for your stack.
I used to go to the bank and get coin rolls of pennies.
Yep.
And I would look for all the wheat cents, and then I would take really good photos of the pennies and I would sell them on Etsy for just people trying to fill their albums. And they weren't even rare dates or anything, but it was just convenient for someone who needed a specific date to pay $2 or $3.
Yeah.
And I was actually able to make a nice little chunk of change doing that. And so you're basically flipping coins, flipping collectibles. I mean, it could be anything. It could be baseball cards, it could be Pokemon cards, coins, stamps. It doesn't really matter. But if you take the time to kind of put these things on an online store and make it convenient for people to buy them, you'd be surprised how many people will actually pick them up from you.
Not only that, you'd be surprised what someone considers junk, what might become treasure. For instance, there are garage sales every weekend, everywhere. You could go to a garage sale and pick up a cardboard box full of paperback books or hardback bound books or even vinyl record albums, because that's kind of making a comeback. A lot of people are just cleaning out the junk, especially older people who just really thinning out the stuff. Maybe they're going to move, and you can pick up, maybe 10 cents each, 25 cents. You could have a book that you could get $3, $5 for on eBay. And it may seem like, well, that's only, what do I make, $3? But multiply that out. And I'll tell you what else happens. That entrepreneurial spirit, especially if you work for someone and you're working for wages, and again, no shame in that, but sometimes having your own little side gig, it feels so good because it's yours and it's not the boss's. You're not sharing it with anybody. And so if you're willing to put in the time, it may seem like work thinking about it at first, but I promise you, it's exciting. It's exciting, and like Silver Dragon said, it's like a game you play, and well, I made $50 last week. Maybe I can make 75. Man, I made 200. Look at that. I mean, there's even guys on YouTube who go to garage sales and make their living that way. I'm not suggesting you throw your whole career down the tubes, but we're talking about just jump starting your stack. And as fun as it is to stack, what you're going to find is the process is actually as much fun as the stack itself.
Well, Harry, let's say someone is just getting started and they're able to come up with an extra $100 or $200 a month to stack with. What would you recommend they buy? Can we go look at some of the stuff here?
Sure, absolutely. Let's use my friend Tim as an example, just as for starters. Tim will come in and say, hey, do you have any dimes? And well, today I do. So he might pick Mercuries or he might pick Roosevelt dimes. And let's say his tip was $20. Well, for $20, he can get nearly 9 dimes. I mean, so he leaves here with silver in his pocket. Or oftentimes he'll like to look at quarters. They're priced such that he could get 3 or 4 of them, walk out the door, having spent the money he earmarked for his stack and not interfered at all with his living. In fact, many times he'll be in here and he'll get a call and he's got to go make a pickup. But in the interim, instead of just parking the car and listening to the radio or looking at his phone, he's in here buying silver.
You know, it's interesting. For just $2.20, you can get a silver dime today.
Right now.
I mean, that's insane. I mean, that's literally 22 cans here in Oregon.
Yeah.
If you go and you turn in 22 soda cans, you can get a silver dime and start your stack.
Or using the example of buying a book at a garage sale that you make $2 or $3 on, you can turn that into silver.
Yeah,
if
that's
you just
true.
if you just put in a little time and effort, and I promise it won't be drudgery. It's almost a high. It's just so exciting when you're doing it for yourself.
Yeah, I kind of think when you treat it like a game, it becomes fun. And over time, you actually get better at playing the game.
100%.
And then you'll be stacking way more than you ever thought possible.
And if you really want to becomes kind of a vest pocket coin dealer, even on a small scale, you could come into a shop, maybe ours, and for $29, you could pick up a peace dollar that is almost uncirculated. I mean, maybe a commercial unk even. And there's no way you couldn't get $35 for that on eBay if you put in the time.
You're actually selling your silver to get more silver.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that do that in the community with sort of some of these more collectible type coins, like the modern bullion, especially some of the releases from the US Mint, like those new Morgan dollars and stuff they're putting at. There's a lot of things you could do it with.
But you know what else? Even short of that, we've talked about this in prior videos, but a lot of coin shops have a bunch of foreign silver that, again, it's hard to deal individually with. It's just we don't have time, but we sell this at melt. The price reflects the melt price of these coins. And because of that, you can pick up some coins, even with just a handful of dollars that you picked up, again, picking up cans or using a tip for this, and start building your stack with foreign silver. Or take this foreign silver, flip it on eBay or Etsy, and turn that into US coins. Just use your imagination a little bit, use your spirit a little bit to think about how you can get there. You can get there. There's more you can do in your life to start your stack, more than you're thinking about. And just the process of thinking about it, get a yellow pad and list out 10 ideas on how you can make this happen. In addition to that, why don't people who've already done the things we're talking about in their own way, with their own ideas, share with the rest of us, what did you do to jumpstart your stack? Because you then could help the other subscribers who are trying to come up with their ideas. Because one idea may be unrelated to another, but it'll stimulate the thought of, well, what could I do?
Well, hopefully this video is helpful for people. I know I started my stack by recycling cans, and I'm so happy that I started it because, I mean, it's grown into what I never thought was possible. So I hope that people, they can actually stick to it and just get started. That's the first thing, get started. And once you hold that silver in your hand, you're just never gonna wanna stop.
Yeah, put your pride aside, Don't worry about what the neighbors think. What is he up to? What's he looking at cans for? What's that sack of old books he's got? Just have fun with it. And you know what? Eventually, they'll look up to you for having that entrepreneurial spirit. Let's start with sharing those ideas. Those of you who've done it and been successful, and those of you who want to try new ideas. And we both wish you the very best.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Thanks so much,
All right,
Harry.
thank you, Silver Dragons.